Every single day, life hands you two options: rise with intention or stumble by default. And let me tell you something. Champions are not born, they're built. They're not crafted in the spotlight. They're forged in the quiet moments, in the early hours, in repetition, in the grind, in the habits no one sees. The truth, your mindset isn't a gift, it's a decision, built brick by brick through the rituals you choose daily. And if you're waiting for motivation to strike before you act, you've already lost. You don't need motivation. You need to create momentum. And momentum is born from one place: your daily habits. Today, I want to show you how to build a winning mindset. Not someday, not when the stars align, but now, by locking in habits that rewire your mind, ignite your energy, and shatter the ceilings you didn't even know you set. When you open your eyes in the morning, you're not just waking up, you're stepping into a new battlefield. This is the moment most people let life happen to them. But the ones who rise above, the ones who succeed, the ones who dominate, they don't wait for life to hand them power. They create it from the first second their feet hit the ground. That first hour of your day, it's not just important, it's sacred. It's the foundation on which the rest of your day is built. It's where mindset, energy, and purpose align. And if you're not intentional about your morning, you're setting yourself up to chase the day instead of owning it. People talk about motivation like it's something that shows up randomly. But motivation is a product of motion. It's built in those first few decisions. Do you hit snooze or do you get up? Do you scroll mindlessly on your phone or do you start with clarity and intention? The winners don't rely on how they feel. They rely on their rituals. They understand that discipline beats mood. You don't need to feel ready. You need to act like someone who's committed. The difference between the average and the extraordinary starts in the early hours when the world is quiet and distractions haven't crept in yet. That's when leaders train. That's when minds sharpen. That's when energy is claimed. The reason morning rituals are so powerful isn't just because of productivity. It's because of identity. Every time you choose to act with intention in the morning, you reinforce to your brain who you are. You're not just doing a routine. You're casting votes for the person you want to become. You're saying, I'm the kind of person who shows up, who pushes forward, who lives with purpose. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need a 2-hour morning routine filled with checklists and perfection. You need a pattern that aligns your body, your mind, and your mission. Start with your physiology. Move your body, get your blood flowing. Winners know that energy is everything, and energy is generated, not found. Whether it's a workout, a stretch, a quick run, or even jumping in a cold shower, do something that wakes you up and signals to your body that it's time to perform. Motion creates emotion. You want confidence. Move like someone who owns the day. You want focus. Train your body to move with power. That first burst of physical action in the morning doesn't just change how you feel. It sets the tone for your choices all day long. Then fuel your mind. Feed it something that reminds you your strength, your goals, your purpose. Read something empowering. Listen to a powerful message. Visualize your goals with absolute clarity. See the life you're creating. Winners don't start their day with negativity, fear, or mindless consumption. They protect their focus like it's sacred. Because it is. You've got to realize that what you focus on first thing in the morning becomes the lens through which you see the entire day. You can't afford to start with chaos and expect clarity later. Now comes the voice. Speak your goals out loud. Declare who you are and what you're committed to. You don't whisper greatness. You speak it with certainty. Don't just think it or say it. I am disciplined. I am unstoppable. I'm creating the best version of myself. Your brain listens. Your nervous system responds. You're not just repeating empty words. You're programming your identity. You are building neural pathways of belief. And every time you speak power, you cancel out the voice of doubt that tries to sneak in later in the day. Gratitude is another key. It's not just a feel good trick. It's a strategy to shift your emotional state into power. When you start your day by focusing on what you're grateful for, not someday, but right now, you prime your brain to look for opportunity, not obstacles. It's hard to feel defeated when you're deeply connected to what's already good in your life. That emotional shift makes you more resilient, more confident, and more focused on creation over complaint. And let's not forget silence. A few moments of stillness in the morning can be the most powerful tool in your arsenal. Whether it's meditation, prayer, breath work, or simple quiet reflection, this is where clarity rises. When the mind is still, truth can speak. You get access to deeper parts of yourself, your intuition, your purpose, your direction. Most people move too fast to ever hear it. But the winners, they create space to listen. And that clarity becomes their weapon in a world of noise. Stack these elements together, and what you've created is more than a routine. It's a launch pad. It's a daily reset that reminds you of who you are, why you're here, and what you're capable of. You don't let the world choose your state. You've commanded it. This is the difference between waking up and rising, between reacting and leading, between surviving the day and dominating it. Every morning is a chance to build that identity, to condition your mindset, to declare that you are not here to play small. You are here to lead, to grow, to conquer, to veer, win. Your words of power, more than most people ever realize. Every sentence you speak, every thought you repeat, every inner dialogue you allow to loop inside your head is shaping your identity, your mindset, your future. This isn't just motivation. It's neuroscience. Your brain listens to you. It takes your words as commands. If you constantly say, I'm tired, I can't do this, I always mess up, then your subconscious gets to work proving you right. It starts filtering the world through that belief system, and suddenly your actions, your energy, even your outcomes align with the script you've written. What's dangerous is that most people speak defeat as casually as they breathe. They don't even notice it. They apologize for existing. They minimize their worth. They downplay their dreams. They say things like, I'm not that smart. I'm not a morning person. I'm bad with money. I could never do that. And they believe it's just being humble or realistic. But what they're really doing is building mental walls, reinforcing self-imposed limitations, and creating a prison made of language. They don't need an enemy. Their own voice becomes their greatest obstacle. Winners, on the other hand, understand the power of self-talk. They know that language is a tool, not just for communication, but for creation. What you say, especially about yourself, becomes a prophecy. So they speak like warriors. They speak like creators. They speak as if their future depends on it, because it does. When you say, I am disciplined, your brain starts looking for evidence of that discipline. When you say, I always find a way, your problem-solving instincts kick in. When you say, I am unstoppable, your energy shifts, your confidence builds, and you begin showing up with intensity and focus. This isn't about pretending life is perfect or denying your struggles. It's about choosing the story you want to live in. There's a difference between acknowledging challenges and surrendering to them. One empowers you, the other destroys you from within. People with a winning mindset use their words to take ownership. They take responsibility for their energy. They don't give power to problems. They give power to solutions. Even when things are falling apart, they say, this is tough, but I'll find a way through. They don't ignore the storm, but they decide to be the storm. The language you use doesn't just affect your thoughts. It affects your physiology. Say something defeating and feel your body slump. Say something empowering and feel your chest rise, your breath deepen, your spine align. Your words don't just communicate, they activate. That's why when you speak with certainty, confidence floods your system. It's why when you declare your vision out loud, your brain starts mapping the path to get there. You shift from doubt to direction, from fear to fuel, from hesitation to momentum. One of the most transformative habits you can develop is consciously rewriting your self-talk. Catch yourself when you say something limiting. Interrupt the pattern. Don't let that language go unchecked. Replace it with a higher standard. If you find yourself saying, I'm overwhelmed, shift it to, I'm in demand, and I'm learning to handle it. If you hear yourself say, I'm not good at this, flip it to, I'm in progress, and I get better every day. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about aligning your language with growth instead of stagnation. And it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Speak with conviction. Speak with strength. Stop whispering your dreams and start declaring them like they're non-negotiable. The tone you use sends signals to your nervous system. When you speak powerfully, you program your brain to believe you. You send a clear message, this is who I am now. And when you say it enough times, your identity catches up. You start behaving like the person you speak about. Your standards rise. Your actions change. Your results follow. Even the smallest phrases matter. The next time you face something difficult, don't say, I hope I can handle this. Say, I'm built for this. The next time fear creeps in, don't say, what if I fail? Say, what if I grow stronger than I've ever been? Replace hesitation with hunger. Replace doubt with determination. Your voice is a weapon. Sharpen it and aim it with intention. Affirmations, declarations, power statements, these aren't cliches or hype. They are strategic tools used by those who understand how to control their state. When repeated consistently, with emotion and belief, they start to shape the lens through which you see the world. They prime your thoughts, your choices, your reactions. And over time, they don't just change how you feel. They change who you are becoming. You have to speak your way into your future. You have to speak your way out of fear and into focus. You have to speak in a way that reminds you that you are not your past, not your pain, not your mistakes. You are your decisions. And your decisions are shaped by your dominant thoughts. And your dominant thoughts are created by your consistent language. Change your language and you change the script. Change the script and you change the story. And when you change the story, you change everything. You are the product of what you consume mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Every input, every piece of content, every conversation, every environment you immerse yourself in is either building you or breaking you. Most people live unaware of this truth. They think they can scroll through toxic headlines, binge, watch negativity, gossip with low energy people, and still maintain a high performance mindset. But that's not how it works. What you allow into your mind becomes the raw material for your thoughts, your beliefs, and eventually your actions. If you want to think like a champion, you have to start feeding your mind like one. Garbage in, garbage out, greatness in, greatness out. Most people don't have a mindset problem. They have an A input problem. They're trying to build confidence while feeding their minds with doubt. They're chasing success while surrounding themselves with fear. They're dreaming of abundance while consuming scarcity. The content you consume is not neutral. It's either pulling you forward or dragging you down. Every song you listen to, every video you watch, every word you read is programming your brain. Your thoughts are the result of what you've been feeding yourself. So if your mind feels cluttered, anxious, or defeated, don't just fix the symptom, fix the source. Audit what you're feeding your mind with on a daily basis. People with a winning mindset treat their attention like currency. They don't waste it on nonsense. They don't scroll aimlessly. They don't spend hours digesting content that makes them feel smaller, weaker, or more afraid. Instead, they invest their focus into things that stretch them, challenge them, uplift them. They read books that elevate their thinking. They watch documentaries that expand their understanding. They listen to podcasts that spark new ideas. They learn from mentors, even if those mentors are through videos, interviews, or biographies. Every day they are growing. Every day they are learning. Every day they are feeding their vision instead of starving it. This doesn't mean you cut out all entertainment or never relax, but it does mean you become intentional. You become aware of the effect your inputs have on your mood, your energy, your identity. If a conversation drains you, limit it. If a show numbs you, replace it. If a news source fills you with fear and helplessness, find another one or turn it off entirely. You are not a slave to the world's noise. You can choose what comes in. And the more you choose growth, positivity, education, inspiration, the more you train your mind to operate on that frequency. It becomes your new baseline. Feeding your mind is not something you do when it's convenient. It's something you do with discipline. Just like your body needs nourishment to function, your mind needs intentional fuel to stay sharp, clear, and focused. This is not a motivational luxury. It's a survival strategy in a world filled with distractions, fear-mongering, and mental junk food. If you want to win, you need to protect your mental environment like your life depends on it, because it does. A hungry mind is a focused mind. A well-fed mind is a resilient mind. And a resilient mind is unstoppable in the face of challenge. Start small, but stay consistent. Dedicate time each day to mental growth, 15 minutes of reading, 10 minutes of journaling, 20 minutes of listening to someone who's achieved what you want to achieve. It's not about quantity, it's about quality and consistency. You don't have to consume an entire book in a day. But if you commit to 1 page a day, that's 365 pages in a year. That's a whole book. Compound that over time, and you become a new person, not because the world changed, but because you did, and all you did was change what you fed your mind. The people you surround yourself with are also part of your input system. If you're around complainers, you'll start to see problems everywhere. If you're around dreamers, you'll start to believe in possibilities. Your circle either sharpens you or softens you. They either pull you higher or weigh you down. Choose wisely. Be around people who challenge your standards, who call out your potential, who refuse to let you settle. If you don't have those people yet, find them in books, in videos, in communities online. Proximity doesn't have to be physical anymore. It's about alignment of values and vibration. And don't forget about your internal environment, the conversations you're having with yourself. Those are also inputs. If you constantly criticize, doubt, or shame yourself, you are feeding your mind poison. Be just as intentional with how you speak to yourself as you are with what you watch or read. Speak life into your goals. Speak hope into your challenges. Speak strength into your fears. Your internal dialogue is just as important, if not more, as any external content. You can listen to the best podcasts in the world, but if you cancel it out with self-hate, the fuel burns out before it can drive you. Your mind is the command center of your life. It determines your reactions, your decisions, your focus, or your follow-through. And that mind is being shaped every minute of every day by what you feed it. Don't leave that process to chance. Don't hope that clarity and motivation will just show up. Build it, feed it, sharpen it. Design your mental diet with the same care you would give to training for war. Because in many ways, that's exactly what life is. A battle of focus, a war of thoughts, a test of endurance. And the strongest minds are not the ones born with genius. They're the ones built with intention, repetition, and discipline over time. Comfort is the silent killer of greatness. It disguises itself as peace, as rest, as ease. But in reality, it's the most seductive trap you'll ever face. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you're not just avoiding pain, you're robbing yourself of growth. You're staying the same when life is calling you to become more. The most powerful people in the world, the ones with unstoppable mindsets and unshakable confidence, they don't run from discomfort. They seek it. They make it a daily practice because they understand that comfort never creates change and pressure is the environment where potential is forged. When you voluntarily step into discomfort, you train your mind to stop fearing it. The human brain is wired for safety. It wants routine, predictability, familiarity. But that same instinct that once kept us alive in the wild is now the same thing keeping us stuck in mediocrity. We're not dodging predators anymore. We're dodging responsibility, dodging growth, dodging opportunity. The modern battle isn't between survival and death. It's between average and exceptional. And the battlefield is in your habits, your thoughts, your decisions in those small, uncomfortable moments that nobody sees. Doing hard things on purpose is not about proving something to the world. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about reminding your brain, your body, your spirit that you are capable of enduring more than you think. That resistance is not a reason to stop, but a signal to continue. Every time you take on something difficult, whether it's physical pain, mental fatigue, emotional vulnerability, or just the sheer discipline of staying committed, you're rewriting the limits of who you believe you are. You're training your nervous system to normalize pressure. And when you normalize pressure, you become bulletproof in situations where others break. Start small. You don't need to leap into the fire all at once. It could be waking up earlier than you want. It could be lifting heavier weights than you think you can handle. It could be having a conversation you've been avoiding. It could be putting yourself out there when your mind screams for safety. These are not just acts of discipline. They are micro transformations. They are messages to your subconscious that say, I don't back down. I do the things others avoid. I grow through what I go through. And every time you follow through, your confidence grows, not from external validation, but from internal alignment. Most people spend their lives avoiding pain, but what they don't realize is that the pain of avoidance eventually becomes greater than the pain of action. Avoid a hard decision long enough, and you carry the burden of regret. Avoid tough conversations, and you build a prison of unspoken resentment. Avoid pushing your limits physically, and you deteriorate into weakness. Avoid risk, and you miss out on your destiny. Discomfort doesn't destroy you. It develops you. It's your teacher. It's your gym. It's your forge. It's where the old version of you is broken down and the new version is built stronger, sharper, more focused than ever before. You must understand the value of friction. Think about how muscle is built through resistance. Think about how diamonds are formed under extreme pressure. Think about how steel is tempered in fire. These aren't metaphors, they're blueprints. If you want to be strong, you have to embrace resistance. If you want to shine, you have to handle pressure. If you want to be resilient, you have to walk through fire. This is not a motivational slogan. It's the pattern of nature of success of human transformation. Ease is a lie. Struggle is a signal. Pain is a path. Those with a winning mindset see discomfort as a signal that they're on the edge of growth. They chase it. They look for areas where they feel resistance and run toward them, not away, because they know the things they avoid are the very things that are holding their power hostage. Want to be more confident? Speak up when your voice shakes. Want to be more disciplined? Show up when you don't feel like it. Want to be a leader? Make decisions when everyone else hesitates. Discomfort is the door to every upgrade in life. And the longer you avoid that door, the longer you delay the breakthrough that's waiting on the other side. Your goals are not going to hand themselves to you. You're going to have to fight for them. You're going to have to bleed for them. And sometimes you're going to have to do it alone, in silence, without applause, without recognition. That's where mental toughness is built. Not in the moments when it's easy to be motivated, but in the dark hours when the only voice cheering you on is the one you've built inside your head. And that voice gets louder, stronger, more relentless the more you train it. You don't build that voice by staying comfortable. You build it by walking straight into the hard things again and again. It's easy to show up when the conditions are perfect, when the motivation is high, when the path is smooth. But what separates the few from the many is what you do when it's hard. When the path is uphill, when the excuses are loud, when nobody is watching, when quitting would be easier than continuing. That's when character is revealed. That's when mental toughness is forged. And the only way to build that toughness is by doing the uncomfortable thing when every fiber of your being wants to pull back. The truth is, you'll never know how powerful you are until you put yourself in a position where you have no choice but to find out. You won't discover new levels of courage, strength, or perseverance until you're standing in the fire of discomfort. Most people never get there because they avoid the heat. But the ones who embrace it, who learn to love it, those are the ones who rise. Not because they're fearless, but because they've trained themselves to walk into fear and perform anyway. Because they've made a decision to stop playing small and start playing to win. Because they understand that greatness is not comfortable. And comfort never leads to greatness. At the end of the day, when the noise of the world fades and you're left alone with your thoughts, that's when the truth shows up. And the truth is, most people never take the time to actually review their lives. They keep moving, keep grinding, keep rushing from one task to the next without ever pausing to ask, how did I show up today? What did I do well? Where did I slip? What can I do better tomorrow? And because they never ask, they never evolve. They repeat the same patterns. They stumble over the same obstacles and they wonder why nothing changes. But those with a winning mindset know this Ozan awareness is power. And you cannot change what you do not acknowledge. Taking time to review your day isn't just a feel-good ritual. It's a performance tool. It's a strategy used by the best athletes, leaders, and performers on the planet. They know that growth doesn't happen only during the hustle. It happens in the reflection afterward. That's where the lessons are uncovered. That's where the patterns are revealed. That's where the breakthroughs begin. You don't become better simply by doing. You become better by learning from what you've done. You extract the gold from every experience, even the failures, especially the failures, and you use that feedback to recalibrate, refocus, and reignite your commitment. Most people are so busy trying to get to the next thing that they don't even realize how much progress they've made. And because they don't track their wins, they don't feel like they're winning. They stay stuck in a cycle of dissatisfaction, not because they're failing, but because their knots are recognizing their success. But when you take time at the end of each day to reflect on what you did right, even the smallest victories, something shifts. You start to see momentum. You start to build confidence. You realize that even though the road is long, you're moving. You're growing. You're not who you were yesterday. And it's not just about celebrating wins. It's about owning your missteps too. This isn't about perfection. This is about their awareness. You reflect not to shame yourself, but to sharpen yourself. When you ask, where did I fall short today? You're not looking for judgment. You're looking for insight. Maybe you broke a promise to yourself. Maybe you let fear guide your decision. Maybe you wasted time. That's okay. But now you've seen it. And once you see it, you can change it. The review is not about punishment. It's about power. It's where you turn regret into responsibility. This process of review and reflection builds internal alignment. It reconnects you to your values, your goals, your mission. It makes sure you're not just busy, but effective. Because activity without direction is just movement. And movement alone doesn't create meaning. You could spend your entire life running, grinding, climbing, and still end up nowhere near where you want to be. But when you slow down enough to check in with yourself, to make sure your actions match your intentions, that's when life becomes aligned. That's when your daily habits start pulling you toward your highest potential. One of the most powerful parts of a daily review is reconnecting to gratitude. Not the surface level checklist kind of gratitude, but the deep, intentional kind that forces you to feel it. When you ask yourself at the end of the day, what am I truly grateful for today? And you sit with that answer and let it sink in, you rewire your brain. You train it to look for what's good. You shift your focus from what's missing to what's meaningful. Gratitude isn't just a soft concept, it's a hardwired tool for resilience, for strength, for joy. And in the chaos of life, it grounds you. Reflection also reignites your purpose. It reminds you why you're doing all of this in the first place. Because let's be real, in the daily grind, it's easy to forget, easy to get lost in tasks and deadlines and to-do lists. But when you pause and ask yourself, did I live in alignment with my vision today? You pull yourself back to the why behind the what. You remember that your life isn't just about achievement. It's about fulfillment. And fulfillment doesn't come from checking boxes. It comes from living on purpose. Daily review keeps you tethered to that purpose. And from that place of awareness, you gain clarity. You no longer guess what needs to change. You know. You no longer hope for better results. You engineer them. You go into the next day not from a place of randomness, but from a place of precision. You know what worked, what didn't, what to double down on, and what to let go of. This is how momentum is built, not from one massive leap, but from a series of small, intentional adjustments over time. And those adjustments only come when you take the time to reflect, to assess, and to adjust. Finally, a daily review isn't just a solo act. It's also how you show up for others. When you ask yourself, how did I treat people today? Did I lead with integrity? Did I lift others up? You step into responsibility beyond yourself. You realize that your presence impacts more than your progress. It impacts the people around you. And when you raise the standard for how you interact, how you communicate, how you lead, you don't just build a better version of yourself, you help build a better world. This is the power of daily review. It's not a ritual for the weak. It's a tool for the strong. It's how warriors sharpen their edge. It's how leaders raise their standards. It's how visionaries stay grounded in truth while reaching for greatness. It's how you go from drifting through life to driving it with intention. Every day, you either get closer to who you want to be or further away. And the only way to know which direction you're heading is to stop, reflect, and realign. Greatness isn't built in sudden leaps. It's crafted in quiet, consistent steps that seem small in the moment, but when stacked over time, form the foundation of an unstoppable life. The people who rise above aren't always the ones with the loudest voices or the biggest talent. They are the ones who keep showing up. They are the ones who understand that progress is not always obvious, that results don't always scream, and that transformation happens long before the world notices. A winning mindset is not some magical burst of inspiration. It's the discipline of stacking small wins every single day until excellence becomes who you are. Most people underestimate the power of tiny victories. They dismiss them because they don't feel dramatic. They don't post well on social media. They're not flashy or exciting. But what they don't realize is that the human brain is built to respond to momentum. And momentum doesn't require a tidal wave. It requires a single drop, followed by another and another. When you brush your teeth, meditate for 5 minutes, write one paragraph, read one page, or make one tough decision, you're winning. You're showing your brain that you are consistent, committed, and growing. Those moments accumulate. They become proof that you are becoming someone powerful, someone who does what they say, especially when no one is watching. When you make the decision to stack small wins, you're not just building new habits, you're rebuilding identity. Because every time you follow through on a promise, you're voting for the person you want to become. Every time you act with discipline, even in the tiniest of ways, you strengthen that inner voice that says, I am someone who follows through. That matters. That's where real confidence comes from, not from perfection, not from applause, but from alignment between what you say you'll do and what you actually do. Confidence is the natural result of self-trust, and self-trust is earned one small win at a time. The problem is that most people only celebrate the big wins. They wait for the big breakthrough, the big achievement, the big goal to feel successful. But if you only celebrate the mountain peak, you'll miss the beauty and the strength that's forged in the climb. Waiting for huge results creates a mindset of delay. You start believing that your success is always somewhere out there, in the future just beyond reach. But when you shift your focus to daily wins, to today's discipline, today's effort, today's progress, you reclaim your power. You stop waiting and you start owning your process. Stacking small wins also trains your mind to love consistency. And consistency is the most underrated superpower in the world. Talent fades without consistency. Motivation disappears without consistency. Even passion burns out if it's not backed by daily, deliberate effort. Winners know this. They build routines, systems, and habits that keep them moving forward, even when they don't feel like it, because feelings are unreliable. But systems keep you in motion. Habits keep you grounded. And when those habits are rooted in intentional small wins, they become the engine that pulls you through every storm, every setback, every season of doubt. And let's be honest, not every day feels like a win. There are days when everything feels off. When your energy is low, your mind is foggy, and your motivation is nowhere to be found. But those are the days when stacking small wins becomes essential. Because the truth is, something is always better than nothing. If you can't do the full workout, do 5 push-ups. If you can't write the full chapter, write 1 sentence. If you can't read the whole book, read 1 paragraph. The action matters more than the scale. You're not just keeping the streak alive, you're keeping your identity alive. You're proving to yourself that even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, you are the kind of person who does the work. This mindset of small wins also protects you from overwhelm. Too many people look at their goals and get paralyzed by how far they have to go. They see the gap between where they are and where they want to be, and that gap becomes discouraging. But when you focus on the next step, just the next small win, that mountain doesn't seem so high. Suddenly, the impossible becomes manageable. You break the journey into moments you can control. And when you stack enough of those moments, you realize you've already climbed higher than you ever thought possible. The small win mindset also keeps you grounded in gratitude, because when you learn to appreciate the little steps, the many breakthroughs, the silent victories, you cultivate a mindset of fulfillment, not just achievement. You start realizing that the journey is the reward, that every time you show up, you are winning, that every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are growing, that every time you take action, even when it's uncomfortable, you are becoming a better, stronger, more focused version of yourself. And that's the ultimate reward, not the trophy, not the title, not the praise, but the transformation to becoming. The internal shift from someone who hopes to someone who acts, from someone who wishes to someone who works, from someone who waits to someone who wins. And the beautiful part is, it's always in your hands. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need the willingness to take the next step, no matter how small, and to keep stepping forward over and over until momentum becomes identity and identity becomes destiny.